Bill Belichick out. I'm liking some of these Patriots receivers that they took for Drake Maye. Jalen Polk in round 2, and then Javon Baker in round 4. Charles, I gave both of these guys priority round 2 grades. I really like both of these players, and they complement each other very well, right? Jalen Polk, I think, is going to play a little slot for you, but he's going to play outside too. He's going to be your flanker, right? He's actually a really natural replacement for Damian Harris and I were talking about this on the draft show. He's a really natural replacement for a guy that you let walk in Jacoby Myers, and that was a mistake. I think he actually slides really well sort of into that role where he could play outside, he could play in the slot, great hands, gets open against zone coverage. I saw people criticizing this pick on, kind of mid round 2, whatever, I guess because they traded back. They don't know ball. Okay. Like, I think Jalen Polk is a really nice, rock solid, maybe hitting a double, triple type of pick. And then to come back in round 4 and take Javon Baker, again, really nice complementary skill set where he is probably going to be your developmental outside X receiver. I don't know that he's ready to come from like a Big 12 offense where he's lining up on one side of the field and running a bunch of go routes and be an instant impact player, but I do think he can bring you verticality in year 1. So, hey, Drake Maye, congrats, buddy. You got a couple dudes to work with here in New England. I like both of these picks a lot.
The Patriots could have picked Drake Maye at 3 and then like 6 wide receivers in a row, and it would have made sense. Because they're in the spot where beggars can't be choosers, I don't think. And I don't think that that's not how I would evaluate their pick. But, you could look at walking into the draft, you could look at the Patriots wide receiver room and say, literally any type of wide receiver would make sense to add to this room because that's just where they were as far as their talent level last season. I mean, I personally think it's part of the reason why Bill Belichick doesn't have a job. I mean, he put together one of the slowest, least talented offenses in football last year, and they really had to get things moving in the skill position department. And I like the picks. Polk, Baker, you get to pair that with Drake Maye. If one of those guys hits and Drake Maye is who we think he is, then you're feeling probably pretty good about what the next couple of years can look like. I don't know. I don't really know how relevant they will be fantasy wise for redraft, just because there's a lot going on here, man. It's not just you put Drake Maye in, the offensive line is still a work in progress. These wide receivers are still a work in progress. So I wouldn't be surprised if, as bullish as we are on what the Patriots have done this offseason and the start they've gotten off to the Jerome Mayo era, that it still kind of looks a little crappy this year, just because, they finished with their pick in the draft for a reason. They're not a very good football team, but I think for the long term, this is pretty exciting. And man, I Boston fans don't deserve this, but this is a pretty good start for the new regime.
Yeah, no comment on the Boston sports fan stuff that Charles. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say that as to what Charles just alluded to there. But listen, yeah, I'm with you that there's going to be messy moments this year because these guys are kids, right? Like Drake Maye, super young. These 2 rookie receivers, again, I don't even know that Javon Baker, if Kendrick Bourne's healthy, he's probably your starting X receiver. And then Jalen Polk, I do think, can start at flanker this year. But even Pop Douglas he's going to be the slot guy most likely, which, by the way, I like that 3 receiver set with Baker mixing in for some downfield looks. But, Douglas is a second-year player. You've made this point before, Charles, that I think lost in sort of the Arthur Smith and the quarterback situation of the Falcons the last few years is that this is where a bunch of babies out there, really young dudes having to carry a big burden on offense at premium positions. And that's really what New England will be looking at here when Drake Maye starts, that's just where it is. So it's not, I'm with you. It's not gonna be like a fantasy frenzy offense, but I think it can be like an adult offense with Alex Van Pelt, who, is not the next Sean McVay or anything like that, but he's just a guy who's been around the block in the NFL before. He's a real offensive coordinator. We're quite a bit away from the Matt Patricia, Joe Judge disaster, here in New England. So I like these 2 picks. I think that both of them, especially Polk, because he seems I was just stunned by some of the hate that pick got. I would bet that these 2 guys are pretty decent values in your in your dynasty rookie draft, just because I believe in Drake Maye, and I actually really like both of these players. So I like what the Patriots did. Took some offensive linemen on day 2 as well.
Yeah, don't have too much else to say, but I agree with you. I don't really understand being down on this. Like, what prospect are you, you know, excited for that's already on the Patriots roster that would get in the way of one of these guys starting? Kendrick Bourne probably entrenched as a starter. Demario Douglas had some moments, but that's not enough to make you not continue to add talent to that room. So I don't really see why these guys can't come in and fight for starting spots early on, even if that is kind of an indictment of where New England is right now in their roster path.
All right.